don't usually show up in my ministerial garb when I'm around you guys, but thought it was appropriate today. Thank you so much for letting me be here, and good morning. I've been here lots and lots of times. I used to play in a recorder group, sort of semi-professional group, and we played for a few weddings. And I'm really grateful for the air conditioning because I've been here. I know your pain, so you've done a great job. I'm a board member for Turpin Cares. This invitation is, I'm just so grateful to you guys, really, so much. I'm a newcomer to the Beverly Morgan Park neighborhood because I've only lived here 36 years. You all know how that goes. I moved here when I married my late husband, and we were married for 30 years, and we have a grown son, and we have two adorable, of course, grandchildren, much younger than your grandchildren. I actually live in the house where my husband grew up, which is why I say I'm a newcomer. The Nolan family has occupied the house I live in for almost 75 years. So it's kind of fun. My first career was as a music teacher. I'm a singer, and I taught vocal music in Oak Forest, Calumet City, Chicago. But my favorite 21 years I taught were I was the choir director, vocal music teacher, and music history teacher at Morgan Park Academy. And I loved it there. That was my best 21 years. The rest was just sort of cobbling things together. 50 years ago or so, maybe just a little longer, I decided at the end of college that I wanted to be a minister. So I went through what we call the discernment process in the Episcopal Church. Music teaching wasn't my first choice. Like other women of our generation of a certain age, I was told no. Sorry, you're a girl, that does not work for us. I believed them the first time. Women weren't ordained for another 3 years after that. So I pursued my second choice and did what my mother told me for once in my life and became a teacher. You can, as she said, you can always use it. You can be a substitute. Okay, Mom. But she was right. Served me well. And I love teaching music. I love music. I always felt like I was a musical missionary. After being injured in a really traumatic school bus accident, I realized I was not going to live forever. I was about 40. I really wanted to pursue my vocation as a minister. If I needed to do that, before I died, I better get busy. I was finally ordained 8 years ago, this week actually. I am extremely grateful for the learning in that 50-year span. It was incredible. There was some suffering involved in it, which isn't that always the way with good things. There might be some suffering involved. And is it okay for me to say a little bit of a naughty word? Anybody gonna explode? When my bishop, the ordaining bishop, asked me in my final interview, "You waited a long time for your ordination. How does this inform your ministry?" And I said, "Bishop Lee, shit makes a good garden." And he ordained me anyway, so. But that way he knew what he was getting because, yeah, okay? You don't exactly fit the mold, and I think that was part of the problem too. Deacons, which I am, and you can tell I'm a deacon because I wear my stole this way. We are an equal order to priests. Priests don't necessarily agree with that, but we won't tell them. When in the early church, deacons were the first ministers. In fact, in the Bible, there's the stoning of Stephen, who was a deacon, right before Jesus died, or right after. Ooh, it's my nervousness. So when the church got too big, deacons worked with bishops. Bishops were the main ministers and the deacons were there weren't priests. And when the church got too big, the bishop started appointing priests. So we outdate the priests. I like to remind them of that. The role of the deacon is a little different. We have similar training to a priest. We're trained in scripture, we're trained in Christian thought, we're trained in ethics and pastoral care. But our job as deacons is to help the church to reach out to the community. We deacons define the needs of the community to the church. We are also charged with bringing the needs of the community, the church to the community. So we stand with one foot in the church and one foot out. We serve, it's a unique role. We are not supervised by priests. We are supervised and serve with our bishop. And aside from pastoral care, I think my favorite assignment that I have now, I've been in 3 different parishes. Christian formation was one of my great loves because obviously I'm a teacher and it was a lot of fun. So my years of teaching music were not wasted. I became familiar with Turpin Cares right before the pandemic. Oh, I forgot to tell you one thing. I travel with the bishop now because when a bishop goes to a parish, they have to go to every parish in the diocese. And our diocese, the Diocese of Chicago, stretches from the Indiana line, Wisconsin line, one parish over the Iowa line, all the way to Springfield. It's massive. So I travel with her as her friend and helper. She is an amazing woman. Watch for her. She is a Black woman bishop. When we had our slate of bishops, we had no white men on it, I'm sorry. It was all minorities. And this is what the church is really longing for, a more equal, at least the Episcopal churches. And she is a lot of fun. She's hilarious. And as an aside, she was under the supervision at the National Cathedral before she came to us. She was Bishop Buddy's assistant. Now, Bishop Buddy is the woman that stood up to our beloved president. Yeah, no. So I became familiar with Turpin Cares in a different way outside the church. And I was invited by my niece to attend a fundraiser. And she very carefully, I had no idea what to expect, and she very carefully told me, now, Aunt Therese, there's going to be a drag entertainer at this party. Now, you know that's not a woman, right? Thank you, Anne. Yes. Well, she said my mother wouldn't have known. And I said, this entertainer's name was Muffy Fish Basket. And she had a gigantic red wig. I mean, Anne, this is why we call it in the family Anne-splaining, because she's good for this. So I attended this wonderful show in Mount Greenwood. And I thought, whoever's running this group is a brave, brave human. And I want to know them. So I went to this Christmas party. It was a lot of fun. And since Anne explained it to me, I really understood what was going on. Really fun. The 2 men that started Turpin Cares are Greg Burnett Owen and Dale Ludwig. They are a married couple, and they were running this really small organization just out of their heart, because they both have this incredible need to give. They have a need to give. So they started by making up bags that we could take in our cars to hand off to unhoused people on the street. And they ordered beautiful colored bags and put in socks and maybe some quarters sometimes for laundry, snacks, always warm hats and gloves, things like that. So they made lots and lots of those bags, and I got to know them by going to pick up these bags, and I just leave them in my car, and I would hand them off to people that I saw. They also maintained their garage for the new neighbors, I think it's called, and lots of furniture, and I heard you say no clothes. Oh, man, that's a nightmare. Clothes are a nightmare. We don't store clothes. It's really hard. Household goods and things for the new neighbors. They also provided non-perishable food items and snacks for many people. They maintain you may have seen it, and you're welcome to use it either in need or not, or to give. There's a little pantry box over at the Edna White Garden, and we maintain that as well. That's probably the hardest thing we do, to keep that going, and to keep, people will put things in like pasta, which does not work because of mice. You're outside, but the thought is there, and that's okay. During the pandemic, it became very obvious that there was a great need that had developed for people in the neighborhood. They were needing more than what a food pantry could give them. So Turpin Cares came from the Turpin Communications idea, and they decided that maybe people needed things like toiletries. And I think that one of the things that is, that I forgot to mention, some of you may be in this, that one of the things during the pandemic were the cool chicks with sewing machines. Are any of you in that? Made masks, very colorful masks, and now what they're doing, it's another neighborhood organization, what they're doing is to make hats out of old leggings for women who are suffering from cancer, because they're nice and soft. It's not a knit thing. It's not a needle knit thing, not scratchy. So many members of, let me say one more thing. I have this all organized, but my brain won't stop. When you've been sick, I've had that stupid COVID 3 times. And I don't want to get it again. When I was sick, and we've all been sick, think about the time that you're just starting to feel like getting out of bed, and how wonderful it is to hop in the shower, and how that feels. Oh my goodness, it's like you feel better immediately. You may end up back in bed, but you get this wonderful feeling, kind of relief, and back to yourself. That's a human dignity thing, in my opinion, that we need that. We need more than just food. We also need to be clean and to present ourselves well, and that's something that sometimes unhoused people don't get, and people who are also just struggling. So we have a pick list of about 35 items, and it changes sometimes. So what happens when we have our free store at the Presbyterian Church, they very nicely let us have some storage space, and we have enough room that the people can come in. I greet everybody. My usual greeting is, "Welcome to the basement." And we laugh, and I have worked on relationships with lots of the people. One of the men wears a Cub jersey just to irritate me. And I say, "You wore it again, didn't you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna wear it all the time." I'm like, "Great, well, I gotta get my White Sox jersey out." So the pick list goes to every person. They can choose 15 items off the list. All they have to do is put their initials on. We don't ask for their names. We don't ask for any identification. Some of the places do, because some new people will say, "Would you like to see my driver's license?" I'm like, "No, no, we don't need that. We're just giving it to you. It's no problem." And they kind of walk away scratching their heads, And the other thing we keep track of is how many people in each family, because that helps us to keep our 503 ABCDEFG designation. That was a lot of work to get. We get donations from socks to travel size, but that's going away. Have you all noticed that? Travel size things are going away. The hotels are putting in places that, you know, they pour the shampoo in to a thing on the wall. You don't get travel size anymore. We do collect those things, so we have a table in front of me that has all of those things on it. We sometimes have books, we have games, we have things for kids, and all those extra things that are not on the pick list are on the table, so people can take that as well. One of the most wonderful things we do, and some of you have helped with this, we collect gently used Christmas items. And I have to say, clean, gently used. Don't just bring your stuff and dump it. From trees to glassware to anything you can think of Christmassy. And we have another deacon in Blue Island who supplies jewelry. She buys jewelry online. And so we have some gift items as well. And it's just wonderful. It's a great distribution. And we have Christmas music, and people really love it. And we love doing it. It's so much fun to watch them going out with what little gems and items they can find. And it's just great. It takes a board of 5 of us to administrate Turpin Cares. We have about 20 volunteers, I think, altogether. None of us take 1 cent of salary. This is not the way this works. And Turpin Communications provides the bookkeeping. We're proud to be able to say that the last year and a half we've been able to navigate and obtain that 503 ABCDE status, and that serves us very well. This is all very fantastic work and very rewarding work. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to make this thing run. But I want to tell you a little more about it, because there's more to it than that. The stuff we give out is wonderful. And you would think that might be just enough, but that isn't all that happens. Our commitment to serve others includes making relationships. It's a natural thing. And you guys talk about this in your service, and I just loved it. It's a natural thing to give back from the love that you've been given. It's natural for us to want to give back. That's the basis of all of our ministries. And in my church, we feel everyone has a ministry. All of us do. And coming from love, finding the thing that you love the most, blending it with what people need, everybody wins. It's wonderful. I learned this from my dad. My dad grew up with a single mom. He was 2 when he came from South Dakota. She grew up on a farm. And they came to the South Shore area. They were very poor. He was born in 22, so he came in 24. And she worked, but not always. And they were alone, the 2 of them. I cannot imagine what it would have been like during the Depression, during that time, to be a single mom. And I adored my grandmother, but she never talked about it, except to tell me that she remembers she remembered ducking in doorways and cars were reaming around the corner, machine gunning, you know, Grammy. He never told me anything else. But my dad would get up when he was about 8 and go to work at 4 in the morning. And he worked the rest of his life. He brushed butter on the loaves of bread in a bakery. And he would work for about 4 hours. They would give him some bread to take to school. He'd go to school and then come back and work another 3 or 4 hours, brushing butter on loaves of bread. That's how they ate during the Depression. I didn't grow up like that. My dad was an amazing person and an amazing businessman, and I grew up in privilege. However, when I was a little girl, the biggest treat to me was getting to go out for dinner for my birthday, anywhere I wanted to go with my parents. And I got to go without them. Them were my three younger brothers. I rarely referred to them by their names. I called them they are bothering me, Mom, them. So I didn't have to go with them. I love them now, but not them. So we would go out for dinner, and it was always a fun place. Any of you remember Trader Vic's? It was the best place. It was so much fun. You went down an escalator into this Polynesian garden kind of thing, and I just loved it. It was so much fun. So that would a lot of times be my choice. And my dad generously took us, but the caveat with that, and we knew it was coming, is that he would drive us down to come home down Madison, West Madison. And you older, more mature people probably don't remember them. You probably do remember the Madison Street I'm talking about, Skid Row. Lots of burlesque houses on the way, and we saw that. And my dad did that on purpose. And he would say, I know you don't like this, but it's important to me that you know that not everyone lives like you. And, you know, sometimes I rolled my eyes, but most of the time I remember sitting in the back, messing up the windows, looking out and thinking, wow, I don't live like that. And I'm so grateful to my dad I didn't, but I'm also grateful that he taught me that very important lesson that has informed my life. The other thing, well, and what I started to say was that the relationships that we build with our customers are really important to us. And I'm going to give you an example. And while I was writing this, it brought me to tears. About 6 weeks ago, there was a really terrible accident in Crestwood. I don't know if any of you remember it. A young man was found dead in his car in the Calsag Canal. It was horrible. He was 36 years old, a year older than my son, and he had drowned. It took a while to find him, and his family was beside themselves. Because we never ask anybody their name, I always referred to this couple as Mr. and Mrs. Happy, because they were always smiling and always happy when they come in. And we traded stories of our grandchildren, and, you know, I got to know them pretty well. You know, unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Happy were the mom and dad of that young man. The week he was found, they still came to Turpin Cares. They care for a handicapped child, and I haven't quite figured out if it's a grandchild or a child of theirs, but they care for her. And he was gray. They looked terrible. And I hadn't known about all of this, and Greg told me what happened. And I ran around the counter. Well, I limped around the counter and hugged them. I just hugged them. We had a relationship. I love them. Mr. and Mrs. Happy, oh my gosh, they were devastated. And there is no devastation beyond the loss of a child. And I'm sorry if anybody here has experienced that. There just isn't any grief like losing a child. It's not supposed to happen that way. They were grieving, but they were still loving. It was amazing. So Greg and I went to the funeral, and we went down the aisle to greet them, and when they saw us, they leapt up and grabbed us sobbing. That's love. Not only do we have toiletries, but we have love. And it's incredible. And love is why we do these things. So I don't know how toothpaste builds bridges, but it does. I don't know how a soap or a shampoo bridge can help us fill in the gap between where we are and east of here. Our city was made to be racist. It was on purpose. And that toothpaste bridge has got to go across there. We've all got to go. And there's nothing wrong with doing it. There's nothing wrong with, there's everything right because we do it out of love. We need to bridge gender gaps. We need to bridge ageism. All kinds of things. And for us at Turpin Cares, our bridges are made of toothpaste and shampoo and Dove soap because all the women love Dove soap. This crazy world of ours is a mess. That's no news to any of you. We can talk forever about why it's a mess, what makes it a mess, and who caused it. We know a lot of that, and we talk a lot about it. But I dare say that these are the kinds of loving connections that will help us clean up the mess. Because when this administration is over, there'll be a lot of work to do. And there's a lot of work now. There's a lot of scared people. Many of our store customers that are Hispanic no longer come. They're hiding. It breaks my heart. These boundaries are meant to be broken by us who know love. So I'm very, very grateful for the support. I can't tell you how grateful I am for the support that you've given us and the volunteer hours a few of you have given us. We'd be happy as could be to have more volunteers, even if it's just once in a while. We also do, I supervise kids who need volunteer hours, so we can have high school kids. I'm happy to do that. This is how we've been loved. This is why we do what we do. So I'm grateful that you invited me here. It's a privilege for me to tell the stories to you. And I appreciate, as a member of this community, all that your church does for the community, including the incredible work that you have done to maintain this old building. It's a lot of work. My 75, 80-year-old house is a lot of work. And I don't know, but you have a little bit of help with the ghosts and things upstairs, right? So keep up the good work that you're doing. I want to encourage you to keep up the good work. It has nothing to do with my role in Turpin Cares. It has everything to do with my role as a deacon. Keep it up. You do good work. You've made a difference. You're building bridges. So thank you. If any of you want to help build toothpaste bridges, let me know. I thank God for you and the little miracles that end up being great miracles of love. Amen. Thank you. I do have to say, it's a little bit of pressure knowing you're collecting. I'm glad that the offering came before I talked.
There's going to be another opportunity, though.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate it, but I was thinking, oh man, if I do a bad job. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here.